Congratulations! You have come this far and have understood most topics, including GMP, GDP, autoclave operations, gowning procedure, entry-exit procedure, clean room, and day-to-day responsibilities of a manufacturing technician, and have done wonderful in all quizzes. Now it is time for you to learn the first stage of manufacturing, where everything you learnt so far will be applied and tested. At the same time, you will learn how the DS, drug substance, is manufactured, which is the core active pharmaceutical ingredient present in the drug. We don't need to go over that again. And since we are talking about the DS, one thing that rings and resonates with DS is the bioreactors. Yes, bioreactors are the core equipment for manufacturing of DS or API. We are going to call it DS moving forward, as in the USA. DS term is used mostly for API production. The general rule of thumb for DS stage is that different chemicals or organic substance mixed together under certain heats, certain temperature, certain speed of agitation, and after certain time would create a chemical reaction, and the new chemical composition produced is the DS. Let's get straight into first step of production. Here you will get a full understanding of how BPR will help you manufacture a drug or DS in step-by-step instructions, and you will learn which compliance part is important and at which step. Before we go into step-by-step manufacturing instructions from BPR, let's get you familiarized with bioreactors. You know the basic principles of bioreactors. These reactors are like chambers in which the DS will be cooked. We have mentioned many times in this training that drug manufacturing is like cooking two or more different chemicals are mixed under certain temperature, certain agitation speed, and under certain time will produce a new chemical that will cure a targeted disease. This is the recipe of a drug scientists have achieved, and we are about to manufacture. Let's understand the types of bioreactors. We have large-size steel bioreactors that can handle big productions, up to 1,000 liters of chemicals at the same time. Some reactors are made with glass and for small operations, up to 150 liters of chemicals. As you can see, many hoses are connected to the bioreactor. These are for monitoring different readings from the bioreactor, such as temperature inside at the bioreactor chamber, nitrogen supply line inside the chamber, and WFI supply line. These connections in today's world with highly advanced bioreactor are very easy to connect and disconnect from it. And you can see steel bioreactor in the picture is permanently fixed at a specific location in the room. So the cleaning of this bioreactor has to be done in place because the bioreactor is immovable. Cleaning assembly, also called seat IP or cleaning in place assembly, it is directly attached to the bioreactor. Let's recap a little bit before we begin. Your supervisor just informed you that production of drug lot will begin tomorrow. A very first thing manufacturing technician needs to do is go to Quality Assurance Documentation Department, which is kind of library or a printing cell that holds all company documents in a document room. This department has printed batch record, and it is ready to picked up by manufacturing team. You as manufacturing technician would go to document cell and receive batch record. Remember, traceability is important. You will fill and sign a log that you receive BPR. Person from document cell will also fill and sign this log as the person who handed you the BPR. This is FDA compliance. Keyword is traceability, who issued BPR and who received, on which day and time. Another core GDP principle you can practice at the time of receiving BPR is to count the number of pages. All pages are there, no attachment missing, all applicable labels are attached, name of the drug spelled accurately, lot number is mentioned accurately. After checking these GDP steps, also when record is issued, the issuer must sign the BPR at the time of issuance. If you have confirmed these points, you are ready to move to the next step, which is to take the first part of batch production, record the bill of material, to warehouse and receive the required material. At this point again, traceability is required. Warehouse person will sign as an issuer of the material on the batch record, and you will sign as a receiver before you put your signature on it. You must confirm the material numbers, their names, their quantities, match with the quantities mentioned in the batch record. Most importantly, the expiration date of the material must be checked. Once these are confirmed that you have executed your work efficiently, you now take this material to the cleanroom area. There is a procedure here to send the material in which we will learn in cascading material training. Now you take the material in and then you start the autoclave operation. Remember, the next step after gathering material is sanitization. Sanitization is called autoclave operation, and it is explained in a training for autoclave operation. Let's get down to work now. Finally, your core work has arrived. Before we get into how BPR directs you step by step on how to manufacture a drug, let's do a recap of your responsibilities till this point before we move towards understanding the BPR. As you can see on the screen, this is the first page of the BPR. This is the most important part of BPR that you need to understand. You will confirm all these entries on the page that are numbered 1 to 8, highlighted in yellow on your screen, before you start working on manufacturing operations. Number 1 is the product name. It must be spelled accurately. Number 2 is the batch number or lot number. Batch number is a unique product and lot number that can be traced back to where it was manufactured and how it was manufactured. Number 3 is the product stage, which is DS. We are at the first stage to manufacture the drug substance. Number 4 is the BPR document number, which is issued by the documentation department. Number 5 is the work order number. This is simply to fulfill the market demand for weekly or monthly supplies. Next time we will supply the market, the new work order will be generated by the finance or the marketing team. Number 6 is the date when the BPR came in effect first. Number 7 is for total number of pages. Make sure every single page says 1 of 17. 2 of 17, so forth and so on. Complete check. This is a GDP rule. No pages are missing. All pages are there. Number 8 is for the market. It is the country where this drug shall be sold in. USA or elsewhere must be mentioned. The BPR is issued by Quality Assurance Documentation Cell, and there is a document format number for every document that you don't need to know. It is for the documentation department. That is all for the top section. You need to check this section every time you receive this from QA documentation department or before executing any operations. The next section is who prepared this document. QA documentation person shall be the one who signs this row. This top row in green is signed at the time of issuance of BPR to you. As a manufacturing technician, once manufacturing team has manufactured the drug, they will sign in the second row, which is yellow. The third row in gray is for QC to check all testing-related data, and they will sign after their work and hand over the BPR back to you. The next row below, which is light blue colored, is for Quality Assurance Operations Department. This QA person will review BPR for any mistakes after manufacturing activities are done. This QA person reviews the BPR for any GDP or GMP errors. This is the QA person who also is present on the floor, and the same QA person gives the line clearance. Last but not least, once this BPR is checked by the quality assurance person, then this person will sign in the last row before sending the drug to the market. Since the drug is vetted properly now to be safe, after all required safety testing are completed, this BPR would go to the QA department again for reconciliation. Remember, this BPR was issued by the QA documentation department. Therefore, it shall go back for reconciliation and archiving. This is an FDA requirement. This is all the importance of the first page. A good technician will make sure the drug name and the product lot number and all related information on the first page is accurate and no signatures are missing. As a standard GDP rule of thumb, the second page of the BPR would remind you that documentation must be complete and with all traceability. Therefore, there would be listed numbers and details of the documents provided by the company on the very second page of the BPR. How many important additional documents are needed to successfully complete the manufacturing operations, and these additional documents must be attached to the BPR. You can see these lists of documents on your screen. Every company and every drug process would have certain additional documents that are needed. This is the page for your reminder. Let's understand this with a couple of examples. Let's say, if you need to take certain numbers of samples, you should have a sample submission sheet. Similarly, you should have a line clearance sheet to be signed by the QA before the operation can begin. Your company will also provide you an in-person training on the importance of supportive documents that need to go with BPR. Let's say, if you were supposed to check the water quality before operations, you need to have a water monitoring report sheet. It could be anything if you get this far, and if there are 10 things listed here as a good technician, make sure they are all attached before you begin your operation. Before any details of the materials in a BPR are given, usually there is a simple picturization of the chemical formula. This is a general picturization of the given chemicals, how and in what sequence they would react with each other and create the desired chemical, which is our DS, the drug substance, as you can see it on your screen. This is for your information only. You don't need to know or understand the chemical and learn the reaction shown in the picture. As a rule of thumb, manufacturing technicians recognize the chemicals with their material number. In the picture on your screen, you can see reaction number 1. In this reaction, KOH is mixed with a chemical below it with a ratio of 9:1, which means 1 part of one chemical and 9 parts of another chemical are needed for reaction. Then it turns into another chemical after the reaction number 1, which is 1 on top right on your screen, circled in green marked as arrow 1. Then, in reaction number 2, 1 is mixed with new set of chemicals after this reaction time, the newly formed chemical which is 2, and that is our final DS. Circled in green arrow number 3, there is another arrow in the middle that is waste that came out with DS, and this is the chemical that you would separate from the DS and discard as waste. And that's all this picture is telling you. All you need to know and understand by this picture is that there are 2 chemical reactions which will happen in bioreactors, one after the other, taking a certain time for reaction. This time will be defined in steps later, and then you would take the samples from the chemical mix, and if the samples pass, you would pack the DS and send it for next processing step. At this point, you understand that this is a basic flow of how the chemicals will be mixed, that's all. You do not need to understand science. Step-by-step instructions are coming. Let's move to see what's in the BPR next. Now we are moving to the step-by-step instructions written in the BPR, how to manufacture a drug. As we have discussed many times, the very first part of the BPR is BOM, Bill of Material. Every single material has been listed with its material code and expiration date. Moreover, warehouse person will sign at the place for issued by, circled in green, annotation 1. Manufacturing technician who is receiving is annotation 2, circled in orange. This is where you will sign. Manufacturing technicians will receive the material under dual control, which means one technician will check and another manufacturing technician will verify. Please see the annotation 3 circled in blue on the screen for the verified by signature. This is the second technician from your department verifying material with you. Remember, this is the standard procedure to receive material. On the top of the page, you will see 4 spots highlighted in yellow. The first one is achieve yield on the right. This is the amount of drug you will get at the end of the manufacturing process. The company knows the potential outcome, but it is a ballpark figure. It could be 10 grams less or more depending on many factors that you will learn as you go. One thing to remember, that manufacturing drug is like cooking, therefore the final amount of cooked product may fluctuate a tiny bit. That's why this line is blank. Once you are done manufacturing, you will weigh the drug and record the weight here. On the top of the page, yellow highlighted area is for the batch size, that is total weight of the product, and the expected output is one standard quantity of the drug the scientists believe will be achieved. That is all except the one material that is circled in red as annotation number 4 on your screen. Let's discuss this. There are 2 material numbers for this material. What does that mean? This very much means that this raw material is used widely and commonly, therefore, The company is buying this material from 2 different suppliers to curb the shortage. Both materials are approved and can be used in case inventory of one is short. Let's move forward with manufacturing of DS now. On this screen, you are still looking at the BOM. You see a green circle on your screen with annotation number 1. In this case, the material is water for injection. The standard quantity is already provided and there is a column for actual quantity. The standard quantity means that it has been determined how much water for injection approximately will get used. Right below it, annotation number 2, yellow circle are the 2 bioreactors mentioned as RR001 and RR002. These 2 reactors can be part of the process, or 2 different capacities, as you can see. One with 500 liters and one with chamber that can hold up to 100 liters. And many instruments needed are mentioned here that should be checked by the technicians for their operation readiness. If there are instruments, equipments, they must be cleaned, calibrated, and raw materials should be within their expiration dates. That is all for this section. Bill of material. Anything and everything from chemicals that are needed to make the drug and from formulation vessel to sample bottles to packaging bags, everything that will be used in manufacturing is mentioned in this section of the BPR. Great! Now this part is very important for all technicians. Any technician who is about to or have taken part in the manufacturing process at any step or at any time during manufacturing must sign this signature page first. Another big GMP compliance here is the acknowledgement from the technicians that they understand and have been trained on how to operate equipments during the manufacturing. In other words, you should not perform any activities if you are not trained in it. We also mention this in do's and don't training. This is CFR 210-211, Code of Federal Regulations and required by FDA. In other words, if you are part of the manufacturing team and has worked on any operations, your name and signature must be here on this signature and training acknowledgement page. In simple words, this is the reason for this page that all technicians involved in the operation have signed here. If 15 signatures are on this page, you will not find 14 people executing the actual responsibilities. It will be 15 accurately matching this page unless someone forgot to sign this first page. Good documentation practices. Information should always reconcile.